Oh, okay. You have to click the okay.
All right, and then maybe I'll put. Okay, I think we're streaming. So it says live. Wait.
Cool.
Whoa, funky. Okay, I was on the Facebook screen. All right, I'm gonna bring up my like anybody making comments or anything. Okay, we are live. Welcome
Yeah.
everybody to GenX Book Club. I'm Paul Stroessner. Along with me is Suzanne Mattaboni.
Hello.
Upbeat story we have today. Nice and fun to
Oh, dude.
during fun times in the world. But today we're going to be talking about uh, the book and the film Ordinary People. And the the book was written by Judith Guest and it was published in 1976. And it was actually Judith Guest's debut novel.
Hmm. Your mic is going in and out.
Oh,
Hmm.
I'll try to. Maybe I just need to talk into it better. So,
And we don't see your
Ordinary
face.
People was it was written by Judith Guest and it was published in 1976. And it was actually it was her debut novel, and it became a major bestseller. And I have a note that it was widely assigned in schools for years and is still in some places.
Really? Hmm.
I I don't know if I would have liked that in school or not. Maybe. I don't know. And then the film was released on September 19th, 1980, and it was Robert Redford's directorial debut. And it starred Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Timothy Hutton, and Judd Hirsch. And the budget was $6 million and ended up making around 90 million worldwide for the box office gross. And it was also a huge Academy Award magnet. It won Best Picture, Best Director for Robert Redford, Best Supporting Actor for Timothy Hutton, and he was the youngest winner in that category at the time, and also won Best Adapted Screenplay. And it famously beat Raging Bull for Best Picture.
Oh.
It says, which still sparks debates in some film circles, but whatever. I'm still sore that Annie Hall beat Star Wars for Best Picture, so there's that.
Amen.
So I can't. Ever since 1977 or 78, I couldn't take the Academy Award seriously. Just kidding. Yeah, so this was critically acclaimed book, novel. So and Susie and I were just talking. Suzanne actually saw this in the theater.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was about 16 too, so it was kind of early as far as yeah, I think I was in 10th grade, 11th grade, maybe 11th grade in 1980, September 9th. I
Okay.
just started 11th grade. Um, so it was really kind of the same age as Timothy Hutton's character, the lead character in the book. And it's kind of funny. I remember going with I had just started dating a guy who was not like a real serious guy. He was a football player and he was kind of wasn't like that would be like the last person maybe you'd want to take to a really serious movie like this.
Oh no.
And of course I was kind of artsy and a writer and I was like, this is supposed to be such a cool movie. And I felt a little bad afterwards that putting him through this wasn't the best idea. It was kind of mean of me to torture this guy like that, but
Yeah, emotions and feelings.
yeah, yeah.
If
Mm,
he was a swimmer, that would have been one thing, but
yeah, that's true.
at least there was a swim team in it.
Yeah, no, he was kind of like a party guy, and then
Oh, no.
just, I look back on that like I dragged him to that torturously intense film.
Hmm.
Why did you
Yeah.
put up But in any case,
Yeah,
that's
it was a long movie too. On top of that, it was like a full 2 hours.
was it? Yeah, and films were much
Yeah.
shorter than usually. Usually, like the
Hmm.
hour and a half, and that's it. You were done. You were out of there. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
echoing. I'm gonna maybe try to put the light back on. Is that better? My watch
Oh
down.
yeah, yep. I can see it. Yep.
That's
Hmm.
better.
Yeah, and I just watched it, and right now the only place it was streaming free that I could find was on Pluto TV, and then you have to sit through ads on that platform, and it was like a bazillion ads, so it took me about 4 hours to get through. So
That is really. They must have put a lot of ads to a movie
oh
like
yeah, it
that.
was a lot. Yeah, it had to have been like almost every 10 or 15 minutes, and then it would be like
Oh,
4 to 6 ads, and yeah.
oh
It
man,
would cut right in the middle of scenes too. It wasn't like convenient break. Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
See, I would
yeah.
have just paid for it.
I
My
know.
$8, whatever it is. Well,
Oh,
especially if you have kind of an artsy film like this, where it was very tense. If I remember, we were talking before we started recording. I haven't seen it since then, since 1980, and I had not read the book at the time,
mhm.
which I guess shame on me if I was a writer and went to see the movie and didn't read the book. But I do remember it being very tense throughout. You know, like you were always waiting. One of those movies where you're waiting for that second shoe to drop because
Mhm.
emotional things have happened in the film. Uh, so I think if they're to cut it up and throw dog food commercials in the middle of this intensity, it's got to really trash the continuity of the emotion that's going on in the film. I don't know. That couldn't have been such a
Yeah.
great experience, especially if you had to do it for that long.
Right, yeah. Luckily, I was it followed the book so well though, and so I wasn't watching it for the emotional content. Like I was again emotionally attached because I had read the book. I was just seeing if there what the differences were, and there were hardly any differences. Maybe there was like a couple of things we could talk about, but yeah, it was really close. Oh, and I don't know if anybody hasn't seen this yet. I have a quick synopsis that I have. The synopsis is the accidental death of the older son of an affluent family deeply strains the relationships among the bitter mother, the good natured father, and the guilt ridden younger son. So yeah, it was a lot of yeah, it basically is
Intense,
dealing
yeah.
with grief and how everybody's handling it differently, within the family. And yeah, I feel like anybody can grieve any of these ways that they were grieving, and that like you can probably relate to at least one of the characters, and this all happens to be all in the same family, so there's a lot of tension and everything, the way everybody handles everything. So and it opened with Timothy Hutton's character. Well, I don't know if it opened with it, but Timothy Hutton's character Conrad, he had tried committing suicide, and luckily the father found him in time, so then he was in what do you call it, he was in a home.
Facility, uh a psych ward, but I don't think it was just like a hospital psych ward. I think it was like a private place.
Yeah,
That's the feeling that I got, and they were a wealthy family, so that probably is uh congruent with how they would have to deal with that. Um,
yeah, it kind of, I had the feeling it was kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous facility when people are
right.
trying out, and like maybe like in a
Exactly.
big house where a bunch of groups and they have meetings and stuff like that. That's the it didn't show it, but that's the feeling that I got about where he was staying.
Yeah, me too. Like similar to if you watched Girl Interrupted,
Hmm.
that kind of a facility, like and they showed that just for one just for women at this in that book in Girl Interrupted, but I believe it was like an out of the way facility, an independent facility. But yeah, see, the summary didn't even mention that. I think that's a lot of the tension, or kind of like what they tell us authors are the, inciting incident.
Hmm.
The book opens where he just has come back to his home and to his school from having been in an institution, some kind of private institution,
Hmm.
to recover from attempting suicide. So he was really fragile. He was extremely fragile, and he knew it at the beginning of this film. And also, the one that the summary did not mention, the dynamics of these characters was really interesting, because the son who died was kind of the favored son,
Right.
at least by the mother. The father seemed a little bit more even-handed as far as the way he was handling the boys. In the flashbacks, there are a lot of like references to things that happened when they were younger,
Hmm.
and the way that the parents treated both of the sons. But the the older brother who drowned, there was a boating accident
Yeah.
where it was just the two brothers, and only one survived. They were hit by a storm. But the older brother, who was the star athlete, and they're both on the swim team, and he was kind of like, I think, the big man on campus in high school, in
Hmm.
high school. And everybody was kind of confounded by the idea that the hero son who everybody worshipped was the one who died. So now,
Yeah.
where does that leave the younger son, who was kind of in his shadow, or feeling like the tag along brother? Now he's there. He was kind of like just unmoored. I mean, to use a sailing term.
Yeah, that's
But
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he was just so confused as to how he's supposed to go on with his life now, as the secondary son, who's no longer secondary. Now he's just the son. And how, had to kind of watch how it rocked the rest of his family, to have that balance change and have that very unexpected thing happen to them. So,
Yeah, yeah, he had like the survivor's guilt and
oh, him,
right, and the
right.
family they
Yeah,
had already lost a son, and now they had another one that tried to end his life. So
right. So
yeah, it's a lot.
I think they were kind of terrified of how, what do we do now to keep him safe? Yeah, they were. It's just, and reading it now as opposed to seeing it as a teenager. Of course, now I'm reading it as a parent,
Right. Hmm.
and just the terror of not knowing what's going to happen to your child, and just to think of the one surviving child now, and they're all on eggshells the whole time. So,
Yeah, yeah, especially the father. Yeah, he's really worried about him when always asking him questions, trying to find out what his headspace is, but then
mm,
the son would feel like he's, you know, kind of like hovering or whatever. So, and in the book, it really gets it. You really, that's the difference between the book and the movie. They portrayed it really well in the movie, but in the book, it really gets in their heads. It's really well done with the mental health and everything.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
it's extremely well written. It's an extremely well composed book, and in reading it, the first thing I thought to myself was, I miss reading books that are written like that. I miss
Mm.
this quality, because I don't think it's really, I don't think people are really reading books like this anymore. The publishing industry is not really publishing books like this anymore. They're just going for things that are fun and entertaining, or focus on politics and social justice, and really the language is kind of like snarky, and uh,
Mm.
to have a book like this in a mainstream that then that became a bestseller is, I don't think, something that would happen anymore.
Yeah.
You have either literary fiction, which is very obtuse a lot of times,
Mhm.
or you have romance and sci-fi, and things that are light.
Do you feel like it's more everything seems to be more plot driven instead of character driven these
um
days?
Absolutely, I think so. And it's more even action driven, like something has to happen right away.
Hmm.
Things happen very slowly in this book, but only
Right.
because that it's grief. It's difficult, that like that I think is the point of the book, is finding a very plodding way back to feeling stable and finding a new normal in the face of something really tragic.
Yeah.
So I think it would be hard to get readers to have that kind of patience, at least with something brand new. That, and everything is full of trigger warnings now. This is a book
Mm.
about attempted suicide. I think just that it would be, sent back, closed and sent back, just based on that.
Yeah.
Maybe unless the author themselves had survived a suicide attempt, then maybe they would say that's okay to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Technically, doing this podcast, we're probably supposed to do trigger warnings here, but we're Gen X, so
I guess, yeah. I mean, our whole lives was, life is full of triggers. It's just
yeah.
like trigger city everywhere you go. But
Yeah.
in any case, yeah, they would now call that suicide ideation, that somebody was kind of ruminating on whether or not to remain on the planet, I guess. But
hmm
this is the thing, people have these thoughts. I feel like the book, in a way, is very cathartic by the time you get to the end of it,
hmm
because he has a lot to work out. And there is a climax of, kind of an emotional climax to the story. I wouldn't call it to the action, but
Right.
it's more kind of him directly kind of reliving the experience with his psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm really not sure which one, but the person
Yeah.
who's counseling him,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
Judd Hirsch did an amazing job in the film. I
Exactly.
think that was the first time I saw him in a movie, and
hmm
it was just an amazingly portrayed movie in general. Everyone in it was
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
notch.
What's funny, most of well, it was Timothy Hunt's first, but Mary Tyler Moore was known for comedies. Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore Show. Judd Hirsch was in Taxi. You know,
That's true. That's
Donald
true.
Sutherland. He was in Ash, the movie Ash and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he was in MASH, and that was kind of, well, that was serious, but they had kind of
that comedic.
dealt with the craziness of what they were facing by, being
Yeah.
jovial. So I kind of get that too. But it's true. I remember it being, I don't know if you remember, like, the previews and the kind of the controversy almost over casting Mary Tyler Moore, because she was known as like America's sweetheart, and she
Sweetheart.
was, fun and light, and everybody's role model for a career woman, but this character, the mother, whose name is Beth, was very closed off, very emotionally withdrawn. I suppose it seemed like it started out that at some point she had a very good relationship with the husband. They seemed to
hmm
balance each other out, but in trying to deal with something this difficult, she she just became like a shell. She just
Mm,
kind of became a shell that nobody could crack, not even the husband, even
yeah.
though they seemed to still love each other. They just couldn't, no one could really get to her, having lost the son that was favored, which maybe in general it kind of is a warning. Like, you can't play favorites like that with your children. It's just
Right. Yeah.
it's not going to lead to a good emotional place for anyone. Um, and he just felt so much, like you were saying, survivor's guilt, and he felt his mother hated him. He felt like she never really, was crazy about him. He was just sort of there. So,
Yeah.
and Jared was the older brother, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jared was the
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
brother.
I forgot what the. Yeah, it was a different name in the movie now. I forgot because they don't say it too
Was it, or
often.
maybe, or was it the last name? I'm sorry. See, I read this a while ago. We
Yeah,
left
we
off.
finished
Yes.
like I finished the the book like yeah, a while ago.
I was, for a
Uh
while, I thought I wasn't going to be able to finish it. It took me a while to get into the beginning because it is so hard. It's
yeah,
difficult emotional stuff going on. But then I think once I hit like page 70 something, then you start to roll because you really care about what's going on. Um, but then
Yeah,
I
his name
looked
was
through it. Yeah,
Jordan in the
suddenly it
book.
was, huh?
His name was Jordan in the book.
Jordan. Okay. Was the last name Jarrett?
I think so.
Conrad Jarrett. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm remembering, Jarrett, because the boys who were the friends, they're friends from the swim team. I think just called them Jarrett all the time.
Right. Yeah. They call him by
Most
his
of the
last
boys
name.
called him
Yeah. Yeah.
Jarrett. So that's I'm
Uh-huh.
remembering Jarrett. But uh yeah, he felt so much guilt from so many angles and just felt like his mother hated him. And even with expressing that to his father, and I don't know if he came out and said that to his mother, but he said a few things to the point of, I know you don't care about me anyway, Mom. I won't make you try, or
Yeah.
they got to a point where they just gave up on each other.
Yeah. That was like a big blow up. Yeah. Because I don't know how much spoilers you should get, but he ended up quitting the swim team and didn't say anything, and then she found out from a family friend or a neighbor or somebody from the school,
Right. And
and
she was
yeah,
embarrassed. She kind of lost face with her hoity-toity friends from the country club or whatever they were.
yeah, yeah, she was already on edge because she was kind of like, trying to control everything, keep up appearances, trying to hold things together that way. And then when that gets shattered, then yeah, she broke. And
She
then
was a very
yeah.
flawed mother. I mean, I hate to be judgmental. Like I said, now I'm looking at the book as a mother.
Hmm.
Uh, I felt like she seemed more concerned with how all this was going to reflect on her as
Hmm.
opposed to what it did to their family in
Hmm.
general. Like she was trying to figure out how to explain to people that her one son was gone in a terrible accident, and now her other son just tried to commit suicide. And like what kind of a what kind of an upstanding person are you? And but
Hmm.
yeah, from my point of view, this wasn't about her. This was
Right.
about the family as a whole, and about trying to support this poor son who, this didn't, this just dropped on all of them. But, she's the adult. She's
Hmm.
the adult in this situation. And it just, to
Yeah.
me, that just was not acceptable. It was not
Yeah.
acceptable. And it's rare to see a book where there's a family and the mother is the unsympathetic character. I think that's where a lot of this controversy in the casting of the movie came from too.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, do you think that's like a good thing that they're showing, women in it like non-stereotypical way, or do you think it makes women look bad? Or
Well, see, there's a lot of different kinds of women out there is the thing.
hmm. Yeah.
And this was a very specific portrait of a family that fractured in different ways.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's bad to show this that kind of a rapport, I guess, from a woman.
Hmm.
It was out of the ordinary. I think it's still out of the ordinary, and maybe just in families in general, it's out of the ordinary. Because if anything, I think mothers are the ones who feel a lot of guilt and a lot on their shoulders. So I don't think it's bad. I think it's life. It's kind of like what we're saying with the trigger warnings.
Hmm.
It's life. These terrible things happen, and you have to deal with them sometimes. And
Yeah.
some people are more adept at handling difficulties and challenges than others. And this was a story of a woman who just was not, they say that the reeds bend. And so the trees that are able to bend with the wind will survive the storm.
Survive.
But,
Hmm.
if you're brittle, you break.
Yeah.
I think she was a very brittle person. Very.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good point too with the towards the end when um Cal, the father was talking to Conrad was blaming himself, and so Cal said that yeah, it's not your fault that this happened, things happen, so yeah,
yeah, I mean,
it's
they
not
don't
that they caused
want.
anything, it's just things happened, and then this is how they're dealing with it.
Right, right. Uh, I I think that the final scene of him working through his conflict with uh with his doctor was really outstanding, uh both in the book and in the film. And I think it was probably a really big challenge to make that interesting visually when it was really just two people in an office talking, during a session.
Yeah.
um where he was almost Conrad, and one at one point was sort of role playing, like he was actually living that moment again,
Yeah.
and was kind of shouting to his brother, how could you not be the one? You're on the swim team. How could you be the one who drowned? How could
Right.
you do that?
Yeah.
And uh I remember, I mean, it's done a little bit differently. They don't have to, create more artifice in the book. You just hear the dialogue. But
Yeah.
in the film, Judd Hirsch kind of picked up the dialogue as if he were the brother. And I
Hmm.
remember him saying, because I was tired. Just
Hmm.
your brother, you were the stronger one, Conrad. Your
Hmm.
brother was tired. He let go.
Yeah.
It was just a moment of him finally realizing that he doesn't have to be guilty for being the one who survived, and that it doesn't mean, his brother wasn't Superman. He
Hmm.
turned out to be stronger in that situation. So that was, it just ripped your heart out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when I wasn't a mother.
Yeah, yeah, that was another thing to him not understanding that like he was stronger than he thought because he looked up to his brother and probably the way especially the mother was with him and everything probably growing up, so he probably doesn't think he's worthy or whatever, and ends up being stronger than he thought. Yeah, yeah, and that was a really cool scene, yeah, especially in the movie, kind of like you're right, like Judd Hirsch, Dr. Berger, he saw what was going on, so that he kind of started doing like this role playing thing, like as if he was the brother, and yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that was really cool.
Yeah, and also
And
just gave Conrad a chance to take out his frustrations and yell at his brother. I mean, I'm sure he was feeling a lot of anger toward his brother for leaving him and
yeah,
for not being stronger, or more enduring in that moment, and putting him into all that chaos that he came back to in his life without his brother. But I mean, we've all had losses in our lives, and sometimes you are just really angry. You're just really angry at the person for letting this happen, even if it's something that no one could have prevented.
yeah,
So to have that moment to be able to articulate that, I think was crucial. So
yeah. It's part of the process, grieving process. You can't skip it. Yeah, it was also interesting that the father, Cal, then he ended up going to see the psychologist too, Dr. Berger as well. But then he tried to get Beth to go, but she didn't wanna
yeah, just
have
very
anything to do with that.
rigid.
Yeah, yeah.
That, and there was a lot more stigma at the time, I think,
Right.
for
Yeah.
like
This was kind of
genuine
ahead of its time.
counseling.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was an extreme thing to have happen. But these days, everybody will turn around and say, okay, make sure you get some help. Let's get help for this, get help for that. Um, it wasn't something that automatically happened at that time, especially for an entire family. And
Yep.
for someone who was so conscious about her upstanding image, I think that was part of the reason why she refused to go,
Yep.
refused to be seen in that light, even by her own family. So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And there's still people out there like that too. So yeah. Yeah, there's still a little bit of a stigma, but it is getting a lot better. And yeah. If you're sick, you go to the doctor for whatever it is, and if you're having trouble with your mind, that's you know, you need to get that
right,
see a doctor for that
especially
as
if
well.
it's something like grief, because
Hmm.
it's unavoidable if you lose someone you're going to go through this process. You can't just walk away from it unscathed. So
Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how to process it. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I can go over this now. The first time I saw this movie was in 2015. And at the time, from my Return to the 80s site, I had a series going called Return to the 80s Movies. So I reviewed movies that I either hadn't seen in a long time or I had never seen before. So this should be a little bit entertaining. Um, I already read the synopsis, and then I have the last time I had seen this is never. When this came out, I was 10 years old and not exactly the target
yeah,
audience.
yeah.
I never saw this on cable TV. If my parents rented this, I probably would not have been allowed to watch it. So funny seeing how I was writing back then. This was 11 years ago. Huh? What I knew about the this movie before watching it. I knew it was critically acclaimed and that Timothy Hutton won an Academy Award for his role in the movie, which was also his first movie. And then let's see how this goes, my review of it. Um, Despite the fact that this won so many Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writing, and as mentioned, Best Supporting Actor, this is a great movie. Normally, Academy darlings are long, boring movies to me, but this is definitely an exception.
Wow. No, well, that's kind
Wow.
of consistent. You could see that you abandoned your, respect for the Academy back when Annie Hall.
Yeah, I'm consistent if
That's
nothing
what's
else.
underlying. I can hear it.
Yeah, it's a little snarky. Uh, the the story about a family being torn apart after the accidental death of one teenage son and the subsequent suicide attempt by the other. We watch how each member deals with the events that had occurred. Each relationship is interesting to watch: father son, mother son, husband wife. There are some heartbreaking scenes in the movie that you cannot take your eyes off of it. And this was a very raw, emotional, and great movie. And nobody who comes from a dysfunctional family, at least on some level, and who doesn't, then there are definitely some relatable attributes in this film. Um, of course, the writing was outstanding, but in my opinion, it was the acting that had the biggest impact on this movie. There were no weak links in this cast. Most of the serious roles I see Donald, the most of the serious roles I see Donald Sutherland in is creepy.
Okay.
In this movie, he plays a father and husband, Calvin, who is trying to his best to hold the family together. Um, do you remember Mary Tyler Moore as Laura Petrie on the Dick Van Dyke Show, or Mary Richards on the Mary Tyler Moore Show? Well, you'll forget about all that after seeing her play Beth in this movie. Uh,
Sure.
As she and her family are falling apart, all she seems to worry about is keeping up appearances. Nothing wrong here. If this was a true story happening today, Beth would be one of those annoying people in Facebook bragging about how great her life is, even though you know she's full of crap. As she's trying to keep up appearances, she's just making things worse. That Yeah, we'll get to this after, but I changed a little bit on that after reading the book. Um, Timothy Hutton won all kinds of accolades for his performance as Conrad, and he deserved every award he got. What was even more amazing was that this was Hutton's first feature film. Personally, I don't understand how he was nominated and victorious in Best Supporting Actor categories at the Golden Globes and Academy Awards. The movie seemed to center around his character, so I would have thought he would have been in the lead actor categories. He would have won those too. And then afterwards, I ended up finding out that they wanted this to be more of an ensemble film, so that's why he was best support. They nominated him for best
Because
supporting instead of
that's a
best
good
actor.
point. That's the main character of the film and the book is
Yeah,
Conrad.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, after looking into it, yeah, like after reading the book and everything and looking into this, yeah, I found that that's the reasoning behind it because they wanted this to be an ensemble. So, oh, I said, Hollywood politics.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, it was very interesting to watch Conrad change throughout the film. You can see and feel him struggle with his emotions. He goes from trying to control his emotions to trying to deal with them. There's an incredible scene where he has a major emotional breakdown, which was his Oscar moment. The, the event that led to the breakdown and the breakdown breakthrough itself got me choked up. And at last, but not least, we have Judd Hirsch. At the time this movie came out, Hirsch was very popular, starring in the sitcom Taxi. His role as Conrad's psychiatrist, Dr. Berger, seems to have been the inspiration for Robin Williams' role as Dr. Sean McGuire in Good Will Hunting. And Dr. Berger is caring but tough and doesn't take any crap from Conrad. If Timothy Hutton was nominated for a lead role, as he should have been, then Judd Hirsch would have won Best Supporting awards. And I have, does the movie stand the test of time? Absolutely, 100% yes. If anything, it seems like it would be a perfect, it would be perfect for this angsty day and age. Boy, that hasn't changed in 11 years. um, Worth the return, because the return of the 80s. I said, yes, I would highly recommend it. If you had not seen this movie in a while, definitely go and revisit it. And then I have a rating. And my rating system for this was 5 mental breakdowns.
Oh
So
boy, that sounds painful.
So that was my
Wow.
article on this movie here in 2015. So, well, you have to. I think the best way to experience this is to read the book first, because then you know it really gets into their heads. You really understand them a lot better. Even though they portray the roles really well, you can
Yeah,
tell.
absolutely.
But the book is amazing. It really helps understand what they're going through. Yeah, even makes Beth look a little more sympathetic. You understand why she's behaving the way that she is. A little bit. You see the ways that she's thinking, I think.
I
So,
guess I think there's a little bit more uh redemption, I guess, in the book.
mhm,
I think you get a better feel for her relationship with her husband in the book, which
yeah.
seemed to be pretty strong. And in fact, it was almost a surprise to me, both in the film and in the book, that eventually at the well, once again, spoiler, if you really want to watch this film, don't listen to the rest of this podcast. But so, if you haven't seen it and you really want to get your teeth into something very, psychologically complex, just watch it. But in the end, the mother kind of stepped back and went off overseas and kind of left the other two, left the husband and the son to bond. And it just seemed like she lost and they won almost. Like it was
Yeah.
strange how the dynamic did not go where the husband and wife worked it out and the son went on with his life. The father and son kind of found a certain amount of common ground. Like you pointed out, the father was even willing to go do therapy with the same doctor to try and
Mhm.
work that out for his son and for himself. But the mother just could not
Yeah.
find it within herself to work that out and to heal with them. She literally left at the end of the film. And once again, that is a strange, and that's a strange way to end a film about a family.
Hmm.
Was very interesting, and it
Yeah, and
was surprised
not a
me
Disney ending.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Surprising ending, and I think that she kind of sacrificed herself because she knew that she couldn't give them what they needed, and she saw that. So I think that was part of it too. That from watching the movie, that's how I felt. Now it's been like a month since I finished the book, so I can't remember if it was basically the same result. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In the book, she went to Houston with
Similar.
her family, her parents and everything.
Mhm.
So
Well, she had throughout the book, they had been the husband and wife, Beth and Cal, were fighting about travel.
yeah,
She kept wanting to leave. She wanted to go to London.
go
She
to.
wanted to go to
Hmm.
Bogota, whatever else she was planning. She just wanted to escape. I think that's
Yeah.
the only way that she
Hmm.
felt she could recover,
Cool. Hmm.
was to leave and go somewhere far away and pretend that none of this ever happened. And
Yeah.
I guess that's what she had to do in the end, even if it meant leaving her family. I think that's the only way that she could survive.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's a little scary, and it's sad, and it's, to me, it's like denial. I think she was just still in
Mm.
kind of in denial, but at least accepted the fact that she didn't want to put her family through that anymore. And that, like you're saying, she knew that she couldn't provide what she needed, what they
What they
needed,
needed. Hmm.
right? Because she was just too self-involved and too
Yeah.
emotionally, um, uh, just emotionally difficult, just emotionally hard to reach. So she left.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
left. It's bizarre.
Yeah. 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 Like she had wanted to go away for Christmas. I think was that going to be the first Christmas without the son,
Yeah.
or at least, yeah. So, but the father thought it would be bad. Cal thought it would be bad for Conrad, and he didn't think he'd want to go. And
Right. Right. And then Beth would come back with, why are you letting him control everything
mm,
you do? Everything is about Conrad. What's going to happen to Conrad? But, once again, you're his mother.
yeah,
What's wrong with you?
yeah,
Of
it's almost
course.
like he was the mother role.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I think in her mind, she felt like she already failed. She already horrendously failed as a mother by not only letting her two sons go out in the storm and one of them drown, which, once again, they were not little children or anything. This was just a terrible accident. And, then on top of that, not being able to support the second son enough to make him feel like it was worthwhile for him to keep living. It's just, I think she felt like she already just completely failed her, both of her sons. And so what's the difference now? I can't save him. I'm just
Yep.
gonna worry about me. That's what I felt from her.
So one thing that happened in the book that didn't happen in the movie was when it really hit me too. He the father, I don't know if the father or the parents gave Conrad a car for, I don't know if it was for his birthday or
Right.
Christmas or something. That wasn't in the movie, but like I think Cal thought it, giving him something would, lift his spirits up. Having a car when you're 16, but he just seemed, Conrad just seemed like, unfazed by it. He was kind of dull to it. He didn't have that excitement that Cal was expecting. And
Right.
you could just feel the dampness of that. So
Right. It was kind of
that,
sad. Well, first off, I think he still felt so guilty that he felt he was undeserving of
hmm.
a
Yeah.
gift of that magnitude, and that it was really just like feeling his dad was just going to give him great big gifts, and there, now you can't, now you can't hurt yourself anymore.
Mhm.
Look at this nice present. And I don't think that's why the father did it, but I think in Conrad's mind, he just was not quite healed enough to really be able to accept something like that.
Mhm.
And it did, once again, it kind of threw the balance off in the whole family, because they did decide to stay home for Christmas when they'd always would go away.
Yeah.
And I think the dad wanted to make it special by giving him this very extravagant present. And when it kind of fell flat, Beth was kind of like, see, we should have just gone.
Right. Yeah.
See, you thought this, we were going to be able to make this a nice family holiday, but you know, we failed already. Why did you try? So yes,
Mhm.
just sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just very sad. But he does, Conrad, that is, it's very encouraging, as hard as it was to get through all the emotional distress that Conrad was in. You did feel at the end that he was getting back on his feet,
Mhm.
that he was learning that he had attributes of his own to be proud of, that he wasn't just this secondary player in his own life. And
Yeah.
I think we were to feel like that's what's going to pull him through, that he would become this independent person who had to live through this terrible event, but that he would find more value in himself, because he had to, because that's all he had left, you know, his
Hmm.
family was different. His brother was gone. Now it's just him. But he was starting to feel like he could take that on and move forward with, he starts a relationship with a new girl who has her own issues. And he's kind of feeling like, all right, here I am in the world and everybody has challenges and mine were pretty bad, but I'm moving forward now. So you just want to give him a big hug and say,
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, and there was a big event that happened towards the end, and you could just see the growth from him. Because instead of, in the past, maybe he would have tried suicide again, but instead he knew he needed help, and he called the doctor in the middle of the night, and
Yeah,
instead of just giving up, he knew he needed it, and so he went out and got the help.
right. He found a way to cope and someone who he could depend on. At least he had a resource at that point. So
Hmm.
yeah, once again, good for him.
Yep, yep,
Good for Conrad. I think he'll be
yeah.
okay. Kind of the same way as when we read Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Right,
You
yeah.
you just want to give him a big hug and say, "Be all right. Tell me you're gonna be all right."
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, yeah, in some ways the ending was surprising and heartbreaking, and in other ways it was really good and uplifting. You can see some light there. So yeah, it was really well done. Yeah, in both the book and the movie. Yeah, yeah, because they
Absolutely.
pretty much ended the same way. So yeah, so it's yep. And again, it's ordinary people, not
Yeah, it's
people go through.
interesting that she entitled the book "Ordinary People" because this was not really an ordinary situation, but
Mhm.
I think it's just to say this could happen
Could
to
happen.
any ordinary
Mm-hmm.
person,
Hmm.
So it's almost like prophetic, like we're all gonna have challenges, big and small. So
Yep.
it's an
Yep.
American family who what happened to them. So
Yeah. Yeah, there was something at the beginning of the movie, like Cal and Beth had gone to see a play and they were driving home and everything. And then it showed like when they got home, it showed like the license plate, and it was like OH5637 or something. So I didn't know if it was some kind of hidden message, some kind of Easter egg. So I'm like looking all over, but I think the point of that was it just lingered on it too long. So I felt like that had to have some kind of meaning. But I think it was just that it was like an ordinary, Illinois license plate. It wasn't like
yeah,
what do you call it, vanity plate or anything like that. They're just like ordinary people in ordinary neighborhood, and and something extraordinary in a bad way can happen. And then you get the fallout
yeah.
from that. So yeah, outstanding. I don't know. Did you have anything else? I feel like we did a
Yeah,
good
I
job
think we
covering this.
covered yeah, I think we covered a lot of emotional ground as far as things that go on in the book. I just wish there were more books like this now to read,
Mm,
with this level of content of emotional investment, and maybe I'll get 50 people who send me emails saying, "No, you should read this, you should read this, you should read this," and all the books that are out there that
yeah.
maybe I've missed because I'm busy with my life. But
Right. Hmm.
I don't know. I seem to remember the moment I opened this up and started reading, I was like, you can tell that this book was written a long time ago because I haven't read anything like this in a long time, and
Hmm.
I really miss it.
Yeah.
So
Mm, yeah. Huh. Yeah, maybe I'll write something like that when I'm done with a million other things I'm working on.
yeah, so
Uh,
say we all.
yeah. But yeah, definitely if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, I highly recommend that.
Yeah,
And
you should read it, but make sure you're in
definitely
a decent mental state before you read it.
right, that's another thing
It's
too,
hard,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like if if I had read this like maybe like 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been like in a good enough place to be able to handle that. It would have
I
been a
guess. I mean,
struggle.
that's the whole idea of all the, trigger warnings and not, focusing on these kind of topics. But even, and I kind of get that, but even so, it's out there. And if you don't at least kind of practice how to deal with these kind of emotions, maybe you just hit that much harder with it, you know? So I would still advocate for these type of books.
Definitely. Most definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. All right. And then, yeah, of course, like I love this book because it was character driven, and I loved your book because it was character driven. So you want to tell people how they
Oh,
can find your book? How about that for a transition? Oh,
does that mean we're still live or no?
yeah, we're still live. Let me hit the see if I can find I don't know why it stopped.
I've got to remember to actually bring the book to the desk when we do these podcasts so I can pick it up.
Oh yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I guess you.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're back.
Yay. Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I'm at SuzanneMattaboni.com or onceinaLifeTimeNovel.com because the book in question that Paul was just talking about is the novel that I wrote that takes place in the 1980s and follows a group of kind of new wave girls around trying to navigate that um, those first few years out of college when you're trying to figure out your life and where you should be and what you should be doing and how to get your career together. And especially in the 80s when we were like the first women pushed out there to say, okay, you can do it all. You can go to college, you can have friends, you don't have to get married right away. And you kind of figure out, all right, well, so now what? You try to all do all these things. It's not like they're all gonna happen at once. But in any case, yeah, that's kind of once in a lifetime. So if anybody wants to take a look at the book, they can do that. And I am talking to a publisher about my collection of short stories, which is women's fiction and some horror because I've moved into writing
Ooh,
that, and
mhm,
and some family stories. It's like very kind of eclectic
mm.
3-part deal. So we'll see what happens with that. It's a little exciting.
Awesome. All right. You can find me at Gen X Journeys. And you can email me, Paul, at genxjourneys.net. And our next book is a happier one, Steve Martin, Born Standing Up.
We thought we needed a little levity at this topic. So,
So, yep, thank you once again, Suzanne. And thank you, everybody,
yeah,
for listening. We'll see you
yeah.
next time. Hmm.